Welcome to VictorVogel.com. I'm your host, Victor Vogel. In this series of videos that are coming, I'm going to cover 3 or 4 categories relative to Donald Trump. I'm going to provide you some specific behaviors to look at. And then I'm going to allow you to assess how you feel about Donald Trump. It's important to do that because if you're going to follow somebody, you need to be honest about who they are and what they're delivering, not just for you, but for everyone who they're leading. So let's get on with taking a look at Donald J. Trump. Welcome back. The title I've put on this series is The Big Lie. Not the one Donald Trump is professing, but the one Donald Trump is living. The big lie that he would make America great again. But somehow he missed the mark. He didn't make America great again. In fact, America's worse off. Now we're going to discover why. And this is where you come in. You have to decide, is this the kind of person you would want to follow, or anybody else who would pick up his mantle? Is that who you want to follow? Is that what you want America to be? So let's move on to the next section. Now, during this series, I'm going to be presenting, like I said, 4 different categories for you to assess. What I'm going to do is go through these categories, provide you some criteria of what people consider excellence or effective behaviors, and then allow you an opportunity to take some time and go observe these. And I'm going to show you how to observe, assess, and observe a behavior. And I'm going to show you the difference between assessing and observing a behavior and judging that behavior. Okay? So you're going to get a chance to do that over the next 3 or 4 videos in this series. And then hopefully that will help you to clarify in your mind whether the man you want to follow is really Donald J. Trump and the lie he lives. So let's get started with the first category. Okay, I want you to get some coffee, relax. We're going to go through these. I know I've got my coffee here. And take a look at the first question, the first lie that we need to respond to. And that is Trump a Christian? And I really don't know, but I have strong feelings about what people say when they say I'm a Christian. Is it really like attending a church each week, going on missions, or attending weekly Bible classes during the middle of the week, or maybe volunteering to do some sort of work on the grounds? Is it contributing each week, or maybe sometimes the extra big contribution? Is it how many people you recruit into your church to make it a bigger church or not? Or maybe it's being able to quote the Bible verses off the top of your head. You know, is that what we think about when we think about being a Christian? Is that what makes you a Christian? Or maybe it's as simple as living, maybe it's as simple as living the Christian life, which might encompass, all of the previously mentioned things that I just talked about. But it begins First, by believing and understanding the basic premises of Christ's teaching. And living as a Christian, if you're speaking to Christian followers. Now, if you're not a Christian or you're not a believer at all, this is probably not going to be very, very relevant. But even if you're not, you have to understand that, this is something that Donald Trump has decided to rest his hat on. So living as a Christian may really be as simple as just loving your neighbor, being there for them when they need help, or maybe even when they don't. You don't have to belong to one church or one denomination, or it doesn't have to be a big church you don't have to do either of those things to be compassionate, caring, and loving to those people who have needs in their life, which is a lot of what Christ did, if you think about it. Ask, what are you really seeking from your Christianity? I've known people to pick a denomination, a church, based on anticipated business opportunities and networking, like finding a spouse. Is Christianity about how much you say you are a Christian? Or is it more about how you put into gear all the principles of Christianity to benefit those in need and yourself? Not by money, but rather by deed, what you can actually do. Isn't Christianity really between God and the believer? Isn't that true about any religion or any faith system? It's between God and the believer, and the believer's faith first. And isn't that really the most important element of being a Christian? That's why I say I can't tell whether Donald Trump is a Christian or not. I don't know. That's between him and God. If you use the Bible, though, as a reference, as a Christian, then you find some rather clear and cogent examples of how you should behave if you want to live the Christian life. There are also examples of what to steer clear of if you want to live the Christian life. And most people of faith realize we are all not perfect. Nevertheless, those striving to be Christians certainly must show an effort and repent of the failures and make an effort to change. That's the underlying concept of Christianity. Okay, so what guides Christians' actions? And I'm going to try to keep this simple. I don't want to get into theological debates because the vast majority of Christians aren't theologists. My son is. He would give you a much deeper explanation of all these. But generally speaking, people, the average person, they don't know every word in the Bible, but they can associate certain things that help guide how they live their life and how they would judge others in terms of how they represent themselves as a Christian as well as themselves. So even people who are new believers understand there's some basic tenets to defining a good Christian. Like, one of them is the avoidance of the 7 deadly sins. Now, what are those? Those are sins brought down normally in the 10 Commandments, accepted by Christians as laws we need to live by. Now, are we all going to meet them? No. But like I said, if we're trying and we're repenting and we're trying to change, repenting means admitting you've screwed up and I want to change. Okay, that's pretty much an accepted definition of repenting. So when you look at the 7 deadly sins, they're lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, or laziness is another way to put that, wrath, anger, and vengeance, and those things. Envy, the idea I envy somebody being able to have what I can't have. And then pride, it's all about me, not about God, not about anybody else. I did this. So what we want to do is we want to take these 7 sins and let's hold Donald Trump up against those. What can we observe about his behavior when we talk about lust? Lust is sexually focused, the desire of the flesh, so to speak. And when we look at Donald, we know he's committed adultery, not once, not twice, several times. Did he admit that? Did he confess that sin? Does he seek to repent and change that? No, he tried to cover it up. So much so that he may have used campaign contributions to cover it up. We still haven't gotten around to all of the data that's around that issue yet. But we do know even why he was been married, I think 3 times, but even during the time when his wife was pregnant, he was committing adultery, hiding it, and then paying people off because he has money, paying people off to hide it. And one of those people was a porn star. And then we have actual audio tape of him bragging about abusing women, knowing that because he has this money, he can treat them any way he wants. He can grab their genitals. He can do anything he wants with women. This is lust. This is his behavior, observed, heard, known, factual behavior relative to the sin of lust. And he hasn't repented or confessed any of those. He's denied them all. And we don't know whether he's continuing that or not. But past behavior says he's going to continue to go down that direction. Several women have filed charges against him on this area. Gluttony, you can pick that either way. We all have that problem, it appears. So, but, he eats fast food. He's not trying to, watch his weight. He's not trying to control gluttony. This is a problem we all have. So I don't assign a lot of issue or negative judgment to that area. But one of the things he does is he lies about his health. I'm overweight. Pretty good shape for my age, but a little overweight. I don't try to hide it. I don't try to say I'm not. I don't try to alter the data medically to make me look better as a president of the United States. When we know, in fact, he had doctors write reports that basically lied about his weight. Greed. Greed is something we absolutely know Donald Trump is all about. It's all about money for Donald Trump. He says this, he brags about this. He has had multiple bankruptcies, and he's paid off, he paid off fines for his university. He's closed his casinos. He has suit after lawsuit where he doesn't pay contractors. He borrows other people's money. In fact, he brags on the idea that he can borrow money and live off of other people's money and not pay them back. That was a philosophy he had. This is greed. This is all about keeping it for me and not putting it to use otherwise. Even the funds that he had set aside for charity, he went out, took funds out of there and bought a picture of himself to hang in his own private club. These are facts. These are out there. People have found these. You can go find these facts and you can see where it is absolutely all about a tremendous amount of greed with Donald Trump. This is a major sin for a Christian. This is not how we want to be. We don't want to be living in lust. We want to try to control our gluttony. We definitely don't want to be greedy in our life. And then sloth is that laziness aspect about things. You have to ask, he spent more time golfing than just about any other president out there. You could not find Donald Trump in meetings. There are several events he failed to attend, which were traditional presidential events that the president could have lent some sort of credibility or strength to that event, whether it was a dinner or a presentation or something like that, or going to the Kennedy Center to honor people, whatever that was. Donald Trump just stayed away from all of that. The only place you could find Donald Trump was his golf resorts. Sometimes, it costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars for Secret Service to be around him during that period of time. And his properties benefited from that. He didn't go to a different hotel other than his properties. He stayed on his properties. So Donald wasn't available. He just isolated himself out. And for 4 years, he delivered nothing. He delivered absolutely none of his promises. That's sloth, ladies and gentlemen, in the Christian sense of the term. Wrath. Donald was known for his wrath. There's now book after book after book of people who work for him and around him. If he would praise you, if you said something bad and didn't honor him and didn't swear allegiance and loyalty to him, he turned on you and fired you and put all his weight to destroy everything about you. He fired so many people. It's unbelievable. He did it through tweets. He didn't even do it personally. And then if they said anything, he threatened to sue them. This is wrath. This is wrath in its purest, well-defined sense in a Christianity terms. And then pride. Donald is all about Donald. Everybody says that. Everybody who's been around him says that. You can listen to interview after interview after interview for people. Even his autobiographer said this about him. He lies about his wealth. He inflates his wealth so he looks, richer than he is until taxes come, and then he deflates it. That's what the legal issues are around him. He lost an election. He cannot stand the idea that he lost the election. And so he's creating what he calls the big lie. And that's why anybody can create a big lie. But this is the big lie. The big lie is creating the lie because he is so proud of who he is that he cannot accept defeat in any way, stretch, or the imagination. He brags about his intelligence when in fact you can't prove any of it. And it was a point where he was amongst world leaders and pushed one of the world leaders out of the way so he could be in front of him for the camera. And you could see the arrogance in his body language and his attitude during that period of time. This is pride. These are all examples of major sins in the Christian way of life. These are things you can go find in videos, you can go find in writings, You can go find people who will tell you these are true about him and they've seen them and worked under these circumstances. All of these things are provable. They're undeniable. They're available in observable videos and tweets that he's done. You just need to find them. And if you find them, you'll find a lot of them. And when you put them all together, they make a pretty damning argument that if you hold Donald Trump up against these 7 deadly sins, he is not repenting. He is not saying, yeah, I've done all of these things. He would argue that he has not, but yet the facts are undeniable that he has. That's not being a Christian, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a Christian and that's the kind of person you want to follow, you might need to reassess your thoughts about being a Christian. It's pretty simple. I mean, the facts are real. So let's look at one other area. This is the 7 deadly sins. But there's something else in the Bible that is people use as a fairly strong standard for evaluating the Christian way of life. So let's look at that next. So let me take myself off the screens here so I don't block anything. This is one of the areas that Christians tend to hold up as a method for evaluating how you need to be living your life. And it's called fruit of the Spirit. And this is a fairly good standard to look at in terms of how you want to behave as a Christian. And I'm not going to list whether Donald Trump has or has not done these things. I think they're going to be very obvious to you as you look at them. But I want you to be able to have a list to hold up and see whether you perceive this is Donald Trump is truly a Christian and living the Christian life as a leader, someone you would want to emulate and follow and be like if you're a Christian, okay? First of all, the first standard of fruit of the Spirit is love. And this is in the Greek term agape love, which is an unconditional love for another more than yourself, a very sacrificing kind of love, a kind of love about everyone, not just your wife or your children, but everyone who you meet of all races, of all kinds, who are on the earth, who are God's children, who belong to God, who have the potential for converting from where they are to God's way of life. To love them as you love yourself as a neighbor is the first paramount commandment of Christ to you as a Christian. You need to ask yourself, is that how Donald Trump behaves? Joy. Christian joy is total faith that God will guide you through all of your trials, all your testing, that your faith resting, that, knowing God is in control and giving the credit to him for all your successes and placing your trials and tribulations in his hands as opposed to trying to maneuver and make it's so that you are in control of what happens. This is what is going on with the big lie. There is no joy in the big lie. This is all about Donald Trump trying to change his election results. He's not resting this in God's hands, that God will put it back into his control if that's what. He was very quick to say God put him there. He is not very quick to say God took him out of there and or could put him back in there. He is saying that others lied. He perpetuated a lie, which is another major sin. He perpetuated a lie to try and change things. And then he tried to rig it so people would prove it, and it failed in all the court systems around the country. So no, there is no joy in his big lie. He is not living that Christian life. Peace. Christian peace is knowing God is in control of all things, and that through faith, prayer, your faith rests, your concerns and tribulations, you can lay these in God's hands, these there. You have to decide whether Donald Trump is at peace. Does his behavior indicate that he's at peace? Forbearance. Forbearance is, in the Christian terms, is probably explained as showing patience, even though a thing is owed to you. Somebody may borrow money and can't pay it back right away. And as opposed to debting them for it constantly, you simply accept that they'll get it to you at some point in time. It's holding back or restraining the self from doing something that is normal to do. It's controlling oneself when provoked or offended. There's some synonyms for forbearance, like patience and leniency. And leniency does not mean that you allow, all things, something to continue on when it shouldn't. But you have some patience. You recognize that, it may take some time for something to change. More strict definition is that one does not give the full punishment for something or the full amount of something. You still exact justice, but it's not as harsh as it could be. In other words, grace. You could show some grace to others. That's interesting. Just ask yourself, is Donald Trump a man who shows grace? Seems to me I hear him saying, if somebody attacks me, I'm going to attack them double or 4 times or 10 times harder. That's not grace. That's not forbearance. Kindness, you have to decide, is Donald Trump a kind person? Is that the life he's living? Is he being kind to people? Goodness. Goodness means caring, compassion, loving. It's very much associated with the word love at the top of this list. He's a kind of person who takes time to spend with others, to take care of the needy, to spend time with others. Not just send them money, but actually go out and spend some time amongst them. I don't know if you would ever find Donald Trump in a soup kitchen. I don't know that you would, unless there was a photo op associated. Faithfulness. Faithful implies steadfast adherence to a person or thing to which one is bound, as by an oath or an obligation, like the one he took as president to uphold the Constitution. Loyal implies undeviating allegiance to a person, a cause, an institution, one which feels morally bound to support or defend. Constant suggestions, gentleness, the treatment of people, being kind and considerate. Push the guy out of the way. When he goes to a foreign country, to an international meeting, and takes one of the dignitaries and physically pushes the man out of the way so he can get in front of him, that's not gentleness. And there are untold numbers of reports about self-control. Self-control is this idea of you not flying off the handle, not doing radically things off the cuff because you're mad or you're angry, you feel you're out of control. Okay, so these are the fruit of the Spirit. These are the people who adhere to these, who have forbearance, who are faithful to these ways of life, are the standards whereby the Bible defines a Christian way of life. Now, interestingly, in front of these verses are the things that the Bible says you want to be guarded about and stay away from. And I thought I'd put these in front of you too, so you can take a look at them. We call these, or the Bible calls these, the acts of the flesh. This is in Galatians. Acts of the flesh, sexual immorality, impurity, and debauchery. You have to ask, Donald was seen at many parties and friends with Epstein. Those are the kinds of people you want to steer clear of. And you have to kind of know what's going on around those. Idolatry, the excessive admiration of somebody or something. It can be an ideology or someone like Adolf Hitler, or an object like money. But this idolatry, this desire to be like that on a constant basis is something you want to stay clear of. So we have to see, how did he respond to Putin? He literally threw his intelligence agencies under the bus and backed Putin, one of our sworn enemies. He said, North Korean leader, that they had a love affair. And money is everything to Donald Trump. Then you have other things like hatred. I don't know. You have to kind of take a look and see if this is hatred or something else when it comes to Donald Trump. Does he really hate people, or is he just too self-centered about himself? I don't know. I wouldn't make that call. Discord, being in a situation where you're not fitting in. And I think in many cases, that's why Donald tried to avoid so many things. He doesn't fit in with others well. He is obviously jealous. Jealousy is an issue with him, not from a women's perspective, but certainly for like Joe Biden. He's jealous of Biden's win, so much so that he's spending millions trying to overturn it and totally denies it. He throws fits of rage. These are things that you want to avoid according to the Bible if you are, in fact, living a Christian life. Selfish ambition, you just have to take a look for yourself about that. I mean, this man is stealing money, trying to, not pay his fair share of taxes. He's, his company's under investigation for that. Dissensions. His whole time as president was massive dissension in his ranks, factions and envy. The one thing I think he may not have a problem with in this area is drunkenness. I don't think he was. Of course, you don't have to be drunk on alcohol. You can be drunk on yourself. You can be drunk on a lot of other things. I don't know about orgies, but I would say there is an issue associated with that and sexual immorality. I think that is something he calls locker talk that I think is really a problem with Donald. Maybe not so much now as he's older, but it certainly was when he was younger. So now you have all of these things that the Bible has told you is the right kind of things to do to live a Christian life, and clearly laid out some of the things you should steer clear of. You have all of the material to observe Donald Trump against each of these criteria. If you had these in a list like they're listed here and simply went down the list and checked off, where do I see him doing this on either living the Christian life or not living the Christian life, and put a check mark against those, and then compare the two, then you're going to get a clear picture whether Donald Trump really is living the Christian life. And if you as a Christian want to feel strong enough about this person that you choose to follow his mannerisms, his way of life as a Christian, that you feel that's what represents that. And then, you'll make your decisions and the consequences will be there for you to follow, good or bad, depending on whether you made the right judgment or not. You can't deny the assessments. The assessments are clear. The question is, what value, what judgment are you going to put on those? Are you going to deny the facts, or are you just simply going to accept them as okay? Are all these things acts of the flesh? Something we can put off to the side. We don't care so much about those. We like some of the other things he's doing, like, making sure that preachers don't get taxed. I wonder if, you have to ask whether you thought Christ would have had a problem with that or not. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a theologian. But ladies and gentlemen, these are some pretty clear indicators here. You have some criteria here laid out in the Bible. If you're a Christian, you can do your own assessment and your own judging. So there you have it. There's one category. But now we got some more categories we're going to look at. And the next one's going to be this trust. Because you have to trust your leader. They're taking you down a certain path. And if you don't trust them, your life's going to be miserable, and everything about what's going to happen is going to be miserable. So we're going to look at Donald Trump in terms of the categories of trust. And can you trust him? Do you trust him? And that's important, because people who you trust and they take advantage of that trust for evil can do you tremendous amounts of harm. So stay tuned for that next video in the series. It'll be an interesting one. Till then, I'm Victor Vogel. If you want to get an insight into this, you can visit victorvogel.com. Watch the podcast I have on there about building trust through effective communication. It's $1.99, but trust me, it's well worth your $1.99. It's about, I think, 40 minutes of some good communication and trust theory that will help you, not just in the political sense and about Donald, but also about a lot of things in your life. As a lot of these things that we're going to be talking about can, whether it was Christianity or trust or other things we're going to talk about. So, till the next time, we'll talk about trust. That'll be coming up soon. Stay tuned.